Now.
Okay, we're recording. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Lady Rebekah Allen, and we're going to talk about coordinating a gate shift. You have to pay the toll if you want to cross the bridge. Let's see if I can get, there we go. So I'm Lady Rebekah Allen. I've been a member of the SCA only since 2016. I got a late start from the Barony of Namron. I'm a protege to Mistress Beatrix Alfrey. I'm an apprentice to Mistress D, because I can't pronounce it, Deirdre. I was the gate coordinator for Anstiora 40th year. I was also the gate coordinator for Border Marches War of the Rams last year. In the 4 years I've been playing, I have coordinated gate either 6 or 7 times, I don't remember. This is me, so you know what I look like when I'm out there, and this is my Pelican and her posse. So we're going to talk about gate responsibilities, and the main gate responsibility is to help people attend the event. Then you want to make sure you manage the money, and excuse me, and the most important thing is you want to keep good records. So what the job is, and what we're going to discuss in this presentation is we're going to talk about the rules. We're going to talk about preparing to run gate. It's not something that you just show up that day and everything's set up for you. We're going to talk about actually running gate, and then we're going to talk about closing out gate. So for knowing the rules for Anstiora, I don't know about any other kingdom, but for Anstiora, if you're not the exchequer for the group that is sponsoring the event, some groups like Beast and Fear, only the exchequer can coordinate gate. But if you're not the exchequer of the group, then you have to fill out a gate deputy warrant extension form, which means you are a deputy to that group's exchequer. You need to know the rules about the non-member surcharge. You collect $5 from everyone who doesn't have proof of membership, and there is absolutely no exception to this. Proof of membership, a blue card is a sustaining member, a white card is an associate, and the main difference between those is who gets the online newsletters and who doesn't. And they have to have the current date. And if you have any questions at all about membership, you can go to the link that's at the bottom. If somebody comes to gate and they don't have their blue card, but it's on their phone, that's acceptable. If somebody comes to gate and says, I don't have it on my phone, or I don't have it on me, then they can go to the website at the bottom and they can look it up. If they have cellular data, they can look it up there. But I don't care if it's a duke, I don't care if it's your best friend, I don't care if it's somebody from another kingdom. If they do not have a blue or a white SCA membership card, they have to pay that $5. There's absolutely no exceptions. For waivers, the participation waiver, it's required from everyone who doesn't have a blue membership card. And that also goes if they have a white membership card, they still have to sign that waiver. Your minor waivers, parents can sign for the minor. Minors under the age of 18 are not permitted to enter unless they have a responsible adult with them. If that adult is not their parent, then they have to have a notarized, signed medical authorization form. So if Joe Blow wants to take his neighbor's son to an event, he has to have this notarized form from the parents of the boy that says he can come and participate in our event. Equestrian waivers. If horses are on site, everybody has to sign that waiver. People will come up to gate and say, well, I'm not going to be near the horses. I have no interest in watching the horse events. Doesn't matter. They have to sign the waiver. A couple of years ago at War of the Rams, one got loose and went tearing through the campsite. He didn't hurt himself. He didn't hurt anybody else, but that's why we have the equestrian waivers. And if you have any questions at all about the waivers or where to get them, you can go to the link at the bottom of this page. So preparation, your gate staff is volunteers. You want to make sure you set up the schedule so that no one is spending their entire event sitting gate. Volunteers must be 18 years or older. There's got to be a minimum of at least 2 people sitting gate. 3 is ideal. Sometimes you're going to find out that you're only going to have 1 person show up for their gate shift, and you're going to be the other person. But you want to have 1 to do the sign-in book and the waivers, and then you need 1 for the cash box. The person handling cash must be a blue card member. No exceptions. No blue card. They do not handle that cash box. At War of the Rams last year, I had a whole entire shift show up, and nobody had a blue card. The person that was supposed to have the blue card didn't show up for their shift, so I ended up sitting that shift because none of the other people had a blue card. The person handling the cash box and the person handling the sign-in book cannot be related or be a significant other. That just kind of makes everybody honest. Not that people aren't honest, but it just makes things look a little bit more legit. Any pre-registration information, which is PayPal, you want to get from the exchequer of the group. You want to make sure you get the comp list, and usually it's the Royals and 1 entourage member, and a lot of the groups like to comp their champions. You also want to know the group's refund policy so you can answer accurately when asked, because if somebody shows up and then, for whatever reason, they have to leave 15 minutes later, they might ask for a refund, or if they want a refund from PayPal, or they paid for their friend's registration on PayPal and they want a refund or whatever, you kind of need to know the group's refund policy so you can answer those questions. For large events, like 40th year, you want to decide how to break up the troll lines for a large event. At 40th year, we had a couple of times there where we were just inundated with like 50 people at one time. So it's always nice to know that this line is for this people, and then they line up here for this, and they line up here for that. Pre-registration was somewhere else and on the table, and it just is nice to have it organized. You want to make sure you have signs to guide the attendees to where troll is. A lot of times troll will be at the entrance to site, but if you go to Will Rogers, depending on the weather, sometimes troll will be inside the lodge. So you want to make sure you have some kind of signs up so that people know where to go to troll in. Maps, program, site tokens, you want to get those from the event steward. Some events like King's College and North Keeps Winter Kingdom, the teachers get a special site token. So you'll need a list of teachers and that kind of stuff. You want to contact the exchequer for the waivers, the sign-up sheets, the seed money, and the cash box. Now, as a general rule, I personally like to make my own copies of the waivers and such in case the exchequer doesn't bring me enough or the exchequer just forgets. But as the gate coordinator, you should be working and communicating with the exchequer at least 2 weeks in advance to make sure that everything you need, they're going to supply you with. And you want to make sure you take the time to train your staff. For supplies, general supplies, you need a money box, you need pens, extra paper. You want to make sure at least 1 person that is sitting gate for you has a cell phone. Some large events will have walkie-talkies, which are awesome, but somebody has to at least have cell phone that has good service. And then you want to make sure that you get phone numbers for the autocrat, somebody running the list field, the seneschal, or just anybody you might need to come and answer questions. Event-specific supplies, cabin assignments. If you go to Camp Grand Ball, there are cabins that people are assigned to. They're going to come up to troll and they're going to say, hey, do you know what cabin I'm in? You need to have a list of who goes into what cabins. It's nice to have a layout of where the cabins are so they don't wander around aimlessly in the dark figuring out which cabin is number 2. You want to make sure you get your site tokens, any event brochures, programs, site map. It doesn't hurt to have a tote box that if it rains, everything can get dumped into that tote box real quick. Keeps everything dry. Tables and chairs. I've sat troll where I've had to bring my own chair. I personally like to make sure that my staff has tables and chairs. Food, water, caffeine. War of the Rams runs a 24-hour gate. So I went out and bought coffee and a coffee pot because we had electric, and I made sure my staff had coffee because if they were going to sit gate from midnight to 6 in the morning, I wanted to make sure they had access to caffeine. You want to give them, I always had snacks, water. If your gate is going to run late at night, 10 o'clock, midnight, you have to have lights. Whether it's if you have electric, that's great, but if not, you need to make sure there's some kind of battery operated lanterns so that they can see to throw people in. Tablecloth, that's always nice. It always presents a nice picture when people walk up and there's a nice tablecloth there, and you know, maybe a helm or something on there for decoration. You want to make sure they're trash bags, tape, scissors. You need large envelopes for the money. If it's hot and you have electricity, you want to give your people a fan. If it's cold, you want to give them a heater or some blankets. If you're at Camp Grand Ball, you go in October, you might want to bring bug spray. Some of the stuff you can get from the event stewards. Some of the stuff I just personally bring for my staff because I care about my staff and I want to make sure that they'll sit gate for me again if I ever need them to. The cash box, seed money. Some of the groups will just give you money and say, here it is, this is what you have to work with. Other times I've had groups ask me, well, how much do I want in seed money? Well, what I do is I determine the number of attendees expected, and I figure about 75% of those will pay in cash, and about 75% of those 75% are going to need change. So I'll look at the site fees and the NMS fee, and the most expected form of payment nowadays is 20s. Sometimes you'll get 10s, and that kind of helps me decide how much I want to ask for in seed money. And it's always better to ask for more so that you can make change instead of running out and then, you know, you're struggling trying to get people to run into town for you. So for example, if you expect 200 people at your event, about 150 are going to pay in cash, and about 112 of them will require change. So if your site fee should be $20, so because the NMS fee will be $5. So if your discounted site fee is $15, most people are going to pay with the $20 bill, which is going to require a $5 bill and change. So you'll get cash, you'll get some cash from those paying with exact change, and you will always get exact change from those people paying the surcharge of $5 because they're going to give you a straight out $20 bill. So if you expect 200 people and you only have a gate seat of 250, then only 50 people paying with a $20 bill are going to receive change. So for 200 people, you should have at least $400 in seed money, and it should be in 5s and 10s, with most of it being in 5s, so that you can get people back to change. The actual running of the gate, what you're doing when you run gate is you're checking attendees off of the pre-registered PayPal list. You're writing down information for the non-registered attendees, which is the sign-in book. You know, you want to make sure that they sign their name, their SCA name, if they have one, their legal name, and then you work the book there. You want to make sure you write legibly. The sheets have to be numbered so that we can balance everything later. I have an example of a sheet we'll go over later on. You need to check membership cards. You have to make sure that they are current. You need to make sure the waivers get signed, handle payments, give change. If they pay by check, you have to have the driver's license number on the checks. You hand out site tokens, event info. This is basically everything that you're going to do while running gate. So you need to keep a log. Another good thing to do is to keep a log and write down all the issues, who, what, when, write down when it happened, how the problem got resolved. You always want to keep track of who you have working on each shift, because just because a lot of people signed up to run shift, you're going to find some of them aren't going to show up and other people are going to substitute in. So you want to always know who is running gate for you so that you can thank them. You need to know who you are going to be the event point of contact. Troll's the one place that attendees know they're going to come and they're going to find somebody that that is an event staffer. And so you need to work out a communication plan with the autocrat. Like I said, with the cell phone or with the walkie-talkie. You need to be prepared to be lost and found, because anybody finds anything, they're going to bring it to you at Troll. You need to know how parking is to be handled, where people want to, have to park. And you need to know who and where to find a point of contact for camping or a field setup. And you also want to make sure that the gate staff has your contact info. I give everybody my cell phone number, and I make sure I have it turned on so that they can always contact me if I'm not at gate. And this is the big one. You need to be prepared to sit a gate shift if someone doesn't show, or if they have to leave during their shift. 40th year, I sat 24 hours worth of gate shifts because I had people not show, and I've had people leave early. So if you want to coordinate gate, but you also want to attend the event, that's not going to happen like you might think. There have been times like War of the Rams, I didn't expect to work a midnight to 6 shift, but ended up working a midnight to 6 shift. At 40th year, I was sitting at gate handling the cash box when I got called into court, and I had to find somebody that would sit in for me while I went to court. But be prepared to sit a gate shift. So if you're coordinating gate, do not make plans to help with anybody in any other area, because you never know when you're going to get called back and you're going to end up having to sit. The cash box, cash in the cash box is used to give change only. If somebody comes up to you and says, hey, can you break this, $20 bill because I just bought something at the silent auction or whatever, no way, Jose. It's only to give change only. No refunds, nothing comes out of that cash box. The only thing that goes out of that cash box is their change if they pay for 20 and the fee is 15. According to the SCA Exchequer, under no circumstances should expenses be made in cash or reimbursed from the cash box at the event. You need to count, record the money when Troll staff changes, which is called a shift change. This will be done by the person that handled the cash box and the person running gate. So if you coordinate gate and you have 2-hour shifts, then you need to be there at the end of every 2-hour shift, because you're going to need to be able to count this money. Ideally, and the way I like to work it, and the way we did it at War of the Rams, which was awesome, is we had 2 cash boxes. So that when the oncoming person, when the people starting the shift came, I gave them their cash box, and then the cash box from the last shift, that person and I were able to go into a secure area and count the money without bringing a halt to the registration process. And then I kept that cash box, and then the next shift change, I gave that cash box to the oncoming shift, and then I took me and the person that went in the cash box, we took that and we counted it. That's the ideal way to do it. So gate closes and you think you're done as job. Your job is done. No. Closing gate, you got to count the cash. And by closing gate, I mean end of the gate shifts. So if you have a Friday night, Saturday shift, closing gate would be what you do at say 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. You need to count the cash. You want to have somebody with you, count the cash, and you're going to sign a slip. I have an example that says how much is there. Say at the end of Friday night, you want to have one person take a copy of the cash log separate from the cash itself, so that if you lose something, you always have a backup copy. You want to make sure that cash box gets locked up in a safe place. You're going to need to verify the Troll sheets, which clearly states how many people attended the event in each price category, because the Seneschal has to do a report. I believe it's the Seneschal that, or the Exchequer has to do a report at the total end of the event to give to the kingdom. And you need to identify who registered, who did not show, and you also need to reconcile those Troll sheets to the money box. Here is a sign-in sheet. It's upside down, but this is how you're going to look at it. This is from North Keeps Castellon. The event fee was $20 with the discount at $15. What you're going to do here is the people are going to sign their names. Let's see, do I have a mouse here? No, I don't. You're going to, when you sit here, you're going to make sure, and you need to know what Family Max is. And you check if it's a member. If they're not a member, then you check that they're a waiver, and you got to make sure they sign the waiver. How much they paid for site fee, how much they paid for feast. The other is some people will give you a donation. You can put that in there. If it's a check, you need to write the check number, or you mark that it's in cash. But if you notice up top, favor of whatever, you don't know what the whatever is going to be until the end of the event. So you want to make sure you have page 1, page 2, 3, 4, so on, and what shift you're working. If you're working at 8 in the morning to 10 in the morning shift, you're going to want to put that in there, and you'll write the date right underneath. You want to do the counts for every page. How many non-members, how many adult members, how many adults were comped, and over here under other, you'll write comp, and how many in the different age range, and how many paid for a feast. So those totals that are up on this page is what is used to reconcile the cash that's in the box. So at the end of your shift, here's an example of a shift cash out sheet. You want to count how many coins you have, and then put the total, how many bills. If you get $25 bills, then you'll put that amount over there. This particular one is for the start, because you want to count your box at the beginning of the shift, and you want to count your box at the end of the shift. So if you come in for a 10 o'clock shift, you're going to want to count all the money in that box, because you're going to be responsible for the money in that box. You want to count it and make sure that you have your seed money, because when you start a shift, the money that's going to be in that cash box is going to be your seed money, your $250, your $400, because the money that is over that, the gate coordinator is going to take with them and put it in a secure place. So every shift starts off with a cash box of seed money. And so the person handling the money is going to want to, count it out, and it can be verified with you if you're there, or it can be verified by the person signing in, because nobody's related. And you want to sit there and you want to count how much money you've got coming in. And then at the end of your shift, you're going to count out the seed money. You're going to count out $250. You're going to set that aside, and then you're going to start counting out how much money that you got. Now, depending on the, excuse me, I've been fishing all day, so I'm a little hoarse. Depending on the group, this whole sheet is going to look different. Some of them will have you put down, they want the checks literally itemized. Some will have you just put how many checks and the total amount. Some groups are going to want you to, on your start count or your end count, well, on your end count, they're going to want you to subtract. They'll have a line where you subtract your seed money. It's just, it all varies, but there should be something like this at the end of every shift and the beginning of every shift. Some groups have it on a stamp, and they'll stamp the envelope. Some groups will have the sheets, but what you do at the end of your shift is you take out the seed money, put it in the cash box. The remaining money, which is the actual money for the event, goes into an envelope with either a sheet like this or the information filled out, similar to this, filled out on the envelope. The envelope then gets sealed with tape, and the two people counting that envelope will then initial over the envelope flap to verify that the amount of money that's in there is the amount of money that's on the sheet. resources. I guess I blew this page. So are there any questions? I kind of went through this kind of fast, but that's basically what coordinating gate is. What was really nice was sometimes, here's another thing, sometimes when you close gate, like on a Saturday, if you close gate at 2, people still might show up, and or as soon as you close that gate at 2, say at 2:10, people are going to come in and they're going to want to troll in. Well, gate is closed. They'll want to give you a donation. So what you will do is sometimes there'll be a receipt book. You can give them a receipt book, or you can just take it as a donation. But you need to let somebody know that you have that money that you took in as a donation. At War of the Rams, every time somebody handed me some money, I took it straight to the exchequer of Border March. And I said, this is another donation of 20. This is another donation of whatever. And I always made sure I wrote it down. And when I handed that money to the exchequer, I had the exchequer initial a piece of paper saying that I gave them a donation of $20 from somebody. So that way it kept everybody honest. So nobody could say, hey, I gave a donation of, $100, and, did you get it? And the exchequer can't say, no, I didn't. Because I've got a piece of paper where she initialed that she received that donation money. So, it's up to you. It's up to the group. You might want to ask the group's exchequer how they want to handle donations, but inevitably somebody's going to show up just as you're closing out gate for the event and are going to want to give you a donation. So no questions?
No, I don't have any questions, but I think that was really great, Deb. I mean, that was super detailed. You had great examples and so much information about what you need to do ahead of time and bring with you and all of that. So I really appreciate it.
And that was
War of the Rams is, I think I finally have them, I think I have Border March finally talked into doing away with the 24-hour shifts. And that was basically, and this is where the sign-up sheets come in handy, where you want to make sure you put, the shift and the time. I was able to show them, look, we kept 3 people awake from midnight to 6 in the morning, and we only trolled in 10 people.
Yeah,
and
that's not worth it.
You got to look at that money and say, is this worth 10 people?
Right.
back
So,
in the morning,
and most people are honest, and
Yes.
they will come in the next day and say, hey, I came in the middle of the night. I want to troll in.
Yep.
That's one of the things I like most about the SCA is, a lot of people do have that level of honesty where they'll come in and say, hey, we came in last night, and then you just go ahead and troll them in the next day. But yeah, those overnight shifts was murder. And then for 40th year, we had gate closed at 2 in the morning. So, got to be there at 2 in the morning or to close out, the gate for that day. And then, as the gate coordinator, you're back there at like 6 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, starting up again. And in fact, at 40th year, we had people actually camping in their cars at Troll, waiting for Troll to open.
wow.
So as soon as Troll opened, boom, we already had, like 8, 10 people.
Wow. That's crazy.
Glad they were actually waiting at Troll. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great idea too to have the coffee and the snacks and everything. That definitely helps because people appreciate it. It's a little way of saying thank you for volunteering to give up your time.
You want to do everything you can to make these people want to sit and gate for you again. You don't want to be a gate coordinator for another event and put out something on Facebook that you're looking for volunteers, and then somebody, how Facebook is, somebody go, well, hey, I volunteered for you, and it was 10,000 degrees out and 20,000 mosquitoes, and I got bit, and I got, dehydrated, and you did nothing for me.
Right.
They're not going to sit gate for you again, and they're going to make sure nobody else sits gate for you.
Yep.
So,
True
but as
story.
far as as far as getting volunteers, I don't like to ask too far in advance for volunteers. You know, I'll see sometimes where people will be, gate coordinators will be asking for people to sit gate like 2 months before the event, a month and a half before the event. Well, people forget, people change their plans. I like to wait till I'm about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks out, and then I'll start asking for people to sit gate. And if you're doing it for a group like Border March, you'll find a lot of your volunteers will be from Border March. So, you know, you can always count on the group to give you some volunteers. But like I said, you gotta be prepared to, you gotta be prepared to actually miss the event and spend a lot of time at gate. You have to be there at the end of the shifts. And then if somebody doesn't show up, man, it's you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think a lot of people might want to volunteer for this and then say, oh, but I was going to do this other thing at that event, so I probably better not. You know, you really can't. It's like doing a feast. If you're doing feast, you're not doing anything else either. So
Right. Especially because you have to be there. I'm sorry.
I was saying, if you're autocrating, you're not going to anything. For full length anyway, except court, maybe.
You know, I mean, if you're running Listfield, you know, you're going to be able to, you know, get up whenever you get up in the morning and, you know, whatever, but you're coordinating gate. If your gate starts at 8, you need to be there at 8 for, you know, your people to start the shift, to give them everything they need to, you know, to do their shift.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And which means the gate coordinator better have a blue card.
Yeah. That's another good point too, which probably a lot of people didn't know. So hopefully a lot of people will watch the video and then they'll know.
Yeah, hey. Yeah, because no blue card, no handling the money.
Yeah. I don't think I knew that. So I learned stuff today. All right, Deb. Well, thank you so much for teaching. I really appreciate you. And I know everybody on the call does, and everybody that watches the video does as well. So
I'll finish filling out that resources page. So when I give you this PowerPoint to put online, you'll have that information. Great.
That would be perfect. Thanks so much.
Like I said, I was working on it. Then it was like, hey, I want to go fishing. And, you know.
It's all good.
I did have a curiosity question, but it wasn't about anything in the class specifically. Do you know how many people actually attended BAM? Do you remember the gate count numbers?
At BAM?
Yeah.
We had almost as many as we did at 40th year.
Wow.
We had 600 or 700 people, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, that's still lower than numbers people were slinging around on the internet. So I was curious because we'd had somebody from somewhere complain that our event obviously wasn't very well attended because it wasn't bigger than BAM or something. I don't think it was anybody from Border March because they're all lovely people. Someone on the internet talking smack, and I was like, well, I haven't made it to BAM, and I know it has like multiple kingdoms showing up, so I was just curious.
Yeah,
pretty numbers. That's awesome that they get
40th year had more attendees than BAM did because something was going on, and a lot of people from Glen Aubin did not show at War of the Rams.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hans Dior definitely, and the whole PayPal thing, that was confusing for us at 40th year because sometimes it was put in SCA name and then Monday name, and then sometimes it was just put in by Monday name, or it was just put in by SCA name, or it was put in by somebody else, and trying to figure out. But I think we had 160 something people. I think it was 166 people had pre-registered for 40th year.
Well, and you know, that was a whole mess because the autocrats, we have literally nothing to do with that. And I got 6 million questions about PayPal, and so I got really good at sending the PayPal information to people. These are the people who actually do that. We literally have nothing to do with it. But thank you for answering that question. That's awesome for Border March. I was just really curious after that comment online several months ago. I was like, oh, that's cool. I had no idea that event was that big and awesome.
they have a usually big, really, really big event. But like I said, this year, a lot of people from, in fact, I belong to House Wolfstar, and even though we were, purchased by Border March, a lot of our guys fought for Glenavon because they didn't have the numbers because a lot of people didn't show.
Yeah, they had to even it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
And then a lot of people from the South didn't attend 40th year.
Right. I mean, it was
because of all the flooding and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They were dealing with cleanup. So.
Well, and either way, it was either going to be extremely north or extremely south based on the bids that were actually put in for the event. So it was, no one put in a centrally located bid for that event. So, which, given, I don't know how many of y'all went to Roundtable in the middle of July last year when it was 115 degrees. As we drove past the Canton Trade Day site to go to Roundtable, I was like, thank you, you're welcome. We're not doing 40th in this weather.
Yeah, it was hot enough. I mean, oh my gosh, it was crazy hot for late September, It
was mostly the humidity. It was more humid than normal.
Yeah.
It was only in the like 90s on the
right.
But with the humidity, it always feels worse than it is. So,
but, another thing I forgot to mention, no smoking, no drinking at gate.
Right.
I actually had some people show up for their gate shift at 40th year that I just so happened to bend over and my face kind of sniffed their cup, and it was alcohol. And I'm like, really? You brought you're sitting here. They weren't running cash box. I was running cash box, but you're sitting here and you're drinking, And then they went and vaped, and I'm like, no, you can't do that at gate. You can't do that at gate. So,
and most shifts are only a couple of hours. You can wait till you're done.
Right. And a lot of the groups, no dogs at gate.
Yeah.
Mainly because some people don't like dogs. Some people are allergic to dogs. It's hard if you got a dog tugging on you. It's hard for that person to get their cash out. It's just a lot of groups, no dogs at gate.
Yeah, I can understand that.
No, that's a smart plan.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give the radios to irresponsible people who are going to say things that might get picked up by people who still listen to radio in the nearby town near your event. There's a rule in Shadow about that, about who gets radios at the midnight shift. And who I will be nice and not name their names in a recorded video.
Wow.
If anybody's ever been around for the late night gate shifts at Moonshadow, you might know who it is.
Yeah.
I'd like it if all groups had walkie-talkies. Like, for instance, where Braggart's War is going to be, that's a fairly spread out site.
Yeah.
Will Rogers, Camp Grand Ball, and even DeConnie, walking up and down that hill at DeConnie. It's nice to have, it's nice to have that walkie-talkie to just be able to get hold of the autocrat or security or anybody, that you need to.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't volunteer it on Roger's behalf, but the radios that we use for 40th belong to the camp. Ooh. So they're there all year round. There's no harm in asking if they can be used for SCA events besides 40th.
Oh, that'd be
cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great.
Border March finally broke down and bought their own, and for War of the Rams, and it works out to be a lot cheaper than what they were renting them for.
Oh, wow. Yeah, if you're renting them every year, I can imagine that would.
Now, that was included in the 40th year package. We didn't get charged extra for Roger's radios because he loves us.
He's so awesome. I love Roger.
They were so nice. And they were so nice to have.
Well, and I'll tell you, I was really grateful. He let us, we asked for that event if there was a way to turn on the internet in the admin building, because we knew there was internet in the admin building because it's the Boy Scout office.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, that's a switch in my house off of my router. And I'm glad we did, because we had at least one point where I was printing gate sheets because we ran out.
Yeah.
Offline and filled more out, and brought some over to Gate because he let us use his printer too. I was like, awesome. Because I had
very
a
cool.
laptop, and we just sometimes you never know what you're gonna need.
Yeah. Dan and I have gotten in the habit of taking one of our laptops with us to events if we're in charge of something, just in case, because you never know.
Yeah.
So,
But we knew that that site doesn't get great, wireless. And I tried a hotspot at that site during the work days, and it was not going to be a thing. And then I was like, wait, there's an Ethernet cable running out of this computer here in the office. It's like, hey, Roger.
cool.
And he totally understood because, and we made use of it repeatedly that weekend for things like tracking accurate weather instead of waiting for apps to update, printing forms in the case of various emergencies.
That's awesome.
Posting
That's
any
very
last minute updates to the, Facebook page for the event if there was a change, all that kind of stuff that you want to be able to do, but was not going to happen normally.
Yeah.
But the gate sheets was really the one that came to mind, because I was like, I remember we ran out at one point and I printed like 30 or something, a couple of different forms.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of old and grouchy, and I don't like it when, if you're sitting gate for me, tell your husband to stay back in camp, tell your boyfriend to stay back in camp, tell your bestie to go stay back in camp. I don't like it when gate staff sits there and they socialize with all their, their friends, because it takes away from them keeping the good records to make sure that, the cash box and the sign-in sheet, can balance out. Gate is not a party place or a socialization place, I guess. I'm kind of grumpy in that respect, but you got to make sure. I've seen too many errors happen where somebody's talking to the friend and somebody comes in and gives money to the cashier, but then they don't sign the book, and because the cashier is talking to somebody else, and
nobody's
it's just
paying attention. Yeah.
nobody's paying attention. So it's just it's easier to just have your staff there and no visitors at all.
So do you set those expectations with them ahead of time, or do you just handle that kind of thing as it comes up?
I tell them. I try to just because I'm there at the start of every shift.
Cool.
So
That's good. Yeah.
And I also, because gate might as well have a sign up that says information, because everybody. So I try to get as much little info I can from the event stewards, and I handwrite out a sheet so that if somebody comes up and they want to know something, I can give my staff the answer. My staff pretty much has the answers there. What time feast is, or what time. If there's not a program, where is the list field, or where House Whitaker is camping? I try and find out that info, and I try and have that in a folder for them so that they can answer a lot of questions.
Yeah, that's great. Because I know, you're the first people they see when they get on site. So yeah, they're going to ask you guys all the questions.
and a good one too is there any place to eat off site? So they don't want to eat what's at the tavern. Like at Decani, you can always tell them, yeah, across the freeway, there's some fast food places, or at Border March, you can tell them, well, if you go into town, there's, the town is this way, there's a couple of restaurants, or even at Will Rogers, you can tell them if they go into Cleveland, so I try and have as much information there for my staff to make it easier for them.
That's fantastic. Good tips for sure.
That's about it.
Okay. Well, thank you again so much for teaching. Does anybody have any other questions before we sign off for the evening? All right. Well, everybody have a good rest of your night, and I'll get the video posted for you, Deb, and I will talk to everybody later.
Okay,
All right.
Have a
Bye,
good
guys.
Bye, everybody.
bye.